by the channel. My name's Leah, and I'm going to be recapping and reviewing Growing Up Hip Hop. This is season 6, episode 26. That's how I'm feeling, very but let's get into it. Before every review, we got to talk about the drama that come down my timeline. And y'all, the shenanigans. So in my last review, maybe 2 or 3 comments were made where people were like, girl, Sam and Egypt done got married. And I didn't know if it was true or not, so I Googled and I found the E! News story. I also saw that other reviewers had posted pictures of them, and genuinely, y'all, I thought it was like for a music video. I was like, oh, and it looked old. It really looked old to me. So I was like, well, maybe it's a music video. But when I Googled, it said, no, like, sis, they got married. There's like pictures of like Egypt, Sam, Peppa, and Tretch, and they even said Lazy Bones was at the wedding. So this is the article, and I'll drop it in the description box below again, but it's from E! News, and it says Growing Up Hip Hop's Egypt Chrissy marries Samuel Wright in Las Vegas. Then it says they're married. E! News can exclusively confirm Growing Up Hip Hop's Egypt Chris. Let me turn off these email notifications. And Samuel Wright are husband and wife after exchanging vows at a little Las Vegas chapel. So supposedly they got married on January the 31st, and they're just now telling everybody, because this article is dated February the 4th, and it basically says that, oh, Tretch's real name is Anthony. So it says Anthony, Tretch, Chrissy, and Sandra, Peppa, Denton, and Chrissy, and Lazy Bones were all in attendance to the wedding. So yeah, they got married, and they said that in the article, if you reading more, because I mean, y'all already know, I think we might get to see it. So this makes me think, like, is he going to jail? Like, for real, like, is he about to get locked up? Because I'm like, I don't get what's the rush. I wouldn't want to be tying myself down to somebody who's about to spend the next like 10 to 15 years in jail. That just isn't something I would do. But I'm just kind of like, wow, like, they really got married, but they said we might see it. I guess. But let's get into this review. The episode opens up and we're in Miami, and we see TT and Sean, and they're just discussing the wedding. They're planning on having the wedding in Miami, but there's a lot of issues because it's very last minute, and it is going to be a very intimate wedding, and that's not what they wanted to begin with. But because of, what's going on in the world as we speak right now, they're trying to be smart and have restrictions because they don't want anyone to get sick, especially TT's main focus is not getting her grandma sick, and it seems like the grandma is probably like maybe like in her 80s, probably 90s, considering how old her mom and what's her name and Pep is. Like, and then we saw other aunts, so she probably is of a certain age that if she did get sick, she might not come back from it. And TT's main thing with Sean is that, like, you're not very helpful, but you say you want to be included, but you're not helping, you're not calling your friends. And he's kind of like, I don't want to inconvenience. Sean's like, I don't want to inconvenience my friends because we're doing this last minute. And she's like, well, do you not want them to come? Because if you don't want them to come, they ain't got to come. But she wants him to have a say in it, but he's not very, like, I really think at this point, Sean is worried about his pockets. And he's also like, you know what? Excuse me. We can just go to the justice of peace. Like, it don't got to be all of this. Like, we could just go to the justice of peace. So then we flash over to Los Angeles, and we see JoJo on the couch playing video games. He's sick, and Tanisha's there with Joey, the baby, and she's trying to take care of him and the baby. And JoJo's being a brat. He's being a brat. Like, he's unhappy because he's sick, so he's moody. And he feels like Tanisha isn't very, like, caring. It's just like, okay, it's the baby, then me. And he's just feeling like she's neglecting him. And in this moment, I was on Tanisha's side, like, you asking for too much. But when we later on speak about what happened in the episode, I kind of was side-eyeing her because I got where JoJo was coming from. But in this moment, I was like, you a grown man. Like, nigga, if you need to get, what's it called? If you need to get your medicine, and they're also trying to be very like cautious with like all of like with all the types of restrictions because they don't want to get the baby sick. But I'm like, if you really need your medicine, like get up and go get it. You're not that sick. It's a cold. Get up and go get it. You know. The next thing we see is Sam, Egypt, Boogie, and Eric in the studio. Mind you, the song that they was playing was hot, but it wasn't Sam, nor was it Egypt. And I was like, that says a lot. Cause I was vibing to it. I was like, okay, this is cute. I thought it was maybe Sam's song. But when Eric came in, Eric was like, oh, is that your boy? And Sam is like, yeah, I've been trying to put him on. So I was like, it was weird. Cause I'm like, well, we're in the studio. Why are you playing your friend's music? Like, why don't you play what you have? Unless like Sam is a feature on the song, or if he helped like master or remix the song, like he's a producer. But it was weird. So then they start having the conversation about him getting locked up for like 50 years. And they kind of like Boogie and Eric are like, whoa. And they're kind of, I guess they're being realistic. Maybe Sam doesn't have a good lawyer because the story that they keep telling is that they were accosted. Like it was like a hate crime. Like Sam didn't do nothing wrong. So it's kind of like, did he really do something wrong? Because y'all are acting like he about to get locked up. And I mean like 10 to 15 years, that's a long time to be away. That's a long time. But every time they talk about it, they make it seem like he's not gonna like he didn't do nothing. But each time they talk to different people throughout this episode and previous episodes, he keeps harping on the fact that he might be going away. And if he goes away, please encourage his wife now, his wife to continue her music and be there for her. So it's weird. It's weird. So we see Boogie and Egypt go outside and they're just having a discussion. Boogie is asking like actually good questions. We can see Boogie got a little thick, a little husky, but he look good. I like husky men. And he's basically like, so how are you feeling? And Egypt basically says that it's hard because she wanted to have kids when she was 27, around the age of 27, 28, which I'm like, girl, around the age of 27 or 28. Y'all know what's crazy? I thought I would have kids. Like, and then you think about it, and it's kind of like the age I am now, I don't want nobody in my space like that. So it's like, wow, you know? But she was like, that's around the time she wanted to have kids, and she sees herself spending her whole entire life with Sam. I'm kind of like, is the man going to jail? Because they really acting like he about to get locked up. So I'm just like, is he really about to go to jail? And if he is, girl, why attach yourself to him? You know what? They could be on Love After Lockup. It's on the same network. So we then see Maureen, which is TT's mom, and TT having a discussion, and they're still in LA. I guess TT and I guess they're like transitioning from New York to LA. She says she's been looking for jobs. Basically, Sean has to be in Jamaica. Like after the wedding, she immediately is coming back to LA with the baby to focus on doing her job, doing it remotely, or actually being in person. And then Sean is going to be in Jamaica for 6 months working on his investment company. We end up finding out that Maureen, because Maureen is a lawyer, that she works hand in hand with Sean, and she understands how much that business needs Sean. So it's imperative that he's down there in Jamaica for those 6 months, and hopefully that they can get people to run it and run it in a good manner. The only thing that sucks is that like Maureen don't believe in long distance relationships, so she's kind of like, what are you gonna do? Like, she thinks that she thinks that TT and Sean should be together with the baby, but TT doesn't want to be in Jamaica because there's no job opportunities, and she's still looking for a job, or I think she got a job. They both were talking about it in a roundabout way, but Maureen basically said, like, sis, I don't believe in long distance relationships. So then we see Sayora, Devin, her mom, Egypt, Sam, and Lazy Bones. They got the bowling alley. Side note, I hate bowling. My family loves bowling. Like, that is what they do. Like, my dad has a bowling, like a custom bowling ball. My mom, she said that's what she did with her. So me and my sister hate bowling. Like, I find it boring. Like, after 1 or 2 games, can we go home? Can we go home? Like, can we go home? Like, can we do that? So they're there, and they're just like, the conversation about Sam getting locked up. They keep telling everybody, like, them people on Love After Lockup. We're like, why do you have to constantly mention, pause, Lazy Bone asks Sam about it. So then Sam discusses. And this is where I'm confused, y'all, because they keep giving us too many stories. Because in the beginning of this season, or I guess this is the B season, which I find so stupid that they would have such a long break and not just be like, this is season 7. But I see some people label it as like the first season is season 6A and this is season 6B. And so when they talked about it, when this season opened, or this part of the season opened, they were saying that, like, I thought they were in Vegas, but it seems like they were in New York. So they were in New York. Sam was already drunk, and he called Egypt. From what Sam said, that he contacted Egypt, and they met her, like, they met each other, like, up at, like, I guess the balcony. He said security, or like the people that worked at the actual establishment, saw how drunk he was, or saw like how lit he was, and they called security. He thought everything was okay, and then that's when security started pressing him, being very homophobic and very nasty towards him, and then it went off. But it's confusing because in the beginning, I thought they were in Las Vegas. They were on the Strip. They went to like this rooftop bar. Both him and Egypt both were drunk, and then their friend was getting beat up, and or getting, like, I guess accosted or like solicited, like, people was trying to get at his friend. Then security came, or the guys that like security was a part of security, or they were from New York, was messing with his friend. But I guess I had the story confused. It seems like Sam, they were in New York, which I'm like, if they were in New York, why doesn't like Tretch know more than what he needs to know? Because it's like, if New York is supposed to be your city, I feel like somebody would have got the tea for you. But it's either here nor there. But Lazy was just giving Sam a word of advice, saying like, you need to lay off the alcohol. Like, alcohol makes things darker. He was like, I'm 47 years old, or I think he's 47. And he was like, I lost so much time being lost in the bottle. So you have this chance to change your life, especially if you care about those that are around you. Then we see Tiny talking to Egypt about it, and I just feel like there's more to this story, and people aren't saying what needs to be said, basically. So the next scene is salsa dancing. So it's a triple date. We have Boogie there with his date. I think they said her name was AD. She was really pretty. And then we have Aaliyah, I got the girl name, and Eric there, and then JoJo and Denise were supposed to come. So like I said in the beginning, this to me really didn't help Tenise's case out, because I understood what JoJo was saying. Tenise ends up texting JoJo saying she's not coming, but JoJo makes it known that like we got childcare. Like, so like you could come out so we could hang out, so I could give you time away from the baby. And I think that's the issue that I kind of have with the way in which Tenise is communicating, because you're saying you don't want to lose yourself. You're saying you don't want your time monopolized with just being consumed with two of your kids, with both your kids. But then when JoJo makes an effort to like treat you out, you don't want to go. So it's like, can you really be mad at him? Like, yeah, he's being a brat, but it's like you're also sending him mixed signals because he feels like there's something wrong between them. Because after he gets that text message, he's like, you know what, I'm out. And he's like, I'm leaving. So Eric goes after him and he's like, what's wrong? And Eric is trying to tell him, like, you know, postpartum is serious. And like, you know, you you know, give her time. And JoJo's like, it doesn't feel the same. It feels like there's more to it, more than the postpartum. And I'm trying to figure it out. So then there's like a cute scene where Maureen is trying on like mother of the bride's dresses. She told Tahira she would disown her if she spent $150,000 on this wedding, which I understand from the mama standpoint. So we're back in Miami, and it's just a lot of like, they're looking at this venue. Sean's not impressed. I wasn't impressed. They're in Miami mainly for the family because that's probably the cheapest route for everybody to come and be safe and like, you know, and things of that nature. We have the aunt there who's like, Tyran can't come. Tell him to call me and I'll tell him he can't come. Because at the end of the day, I think that's like the grandma is her mom. It's like, man, F you. You just a nephew. That's my mama. Like, if I have to keep my mom safe, I don't care. And I know some people feel some type of way that they won't allow him to be there. But like, do y'all not see all the death that is happening? Like, we're still in this. And it's like people don't take it seriously until they either get sick or until somebody that's close to them gets sick. That's not to say that, like, if you don't want to get inoculated, don't get inoculated. That's your choice. I find it stupid, but that's your choice. But you can't be mad when people who have been don't want you around when they're trying to make sure they keep their family safe. That's all. And I don't get what Tyran's whole choice is like, oh, like I'm protecting my mind and my body. Then they have the ability and the right to protect theirs. So you can't be mad that they want to protect themselves just like you want to protect yourself from getting vaxxed. So that's on you. It's kind of like TT's being a bridezilla. And she don't really want to be on the beach. She hates the sand. But they compromise and they're going to get a platform and they're going to have the wedding outside. And it seems like Sean and the mama are in cahoots. So we get to the next scene, and it's the night after the no-show at the salsa event. And I kind of got where Tanise was coming from, where she was like, bro, it's 8 o'clock in the morning and you want to argue. But JoJo's feelings were hurt. He was like, you stood me up. And he was like, I ain't been stood up like ever. So that rubbed him wrong. He asked Tanise, he was like, so do you have postpartum depression? And she was like, no, but like, she was like, I can't pinpoint. And this is my thing. I don't know if Tanise is not comfortable in her body because she had a baby, and that's understandable. But I also think she can't be so like flippant, because if the roles were reversed and he stood her up, she would feel some type of way. Like, it's not like there wasn't anybody there to watch the kids. So it's like you turned help away. So you can't ask for help, and then when someone provides you with help, you turn them away. JoJo could be a lot nicer with his tone and his tenor when talking about this subject, because it's a sensitive subject. But I also think he feels like Tanise isn't communicating the way she should in order for them to get somewhere. But she walks away. And then the final scene, unfortunately, is a live, like a IG live of Brianna getting arrested by the police in front of her son. Supposedly she said she was unjustly arrested. You could clearly see the police officer had his gun ready and like his light, which I'm like, y'all do that too much. I am happy she didn't lose her life, because that would be horrible, because we have too many examples of people losing their lives on Facebook Live, IG Live, Twitter. I think Twitter used to have lives on Twitter Live. Like, no one needs to see somebody get murdered on like that. That's just messed up. I mean, I'm happy she's safe. I wonder why they came at her because she's saying she was unjustly arrested in her underwear, and she was at the home chilling with a friend, and it was time for her son to go to bed, and then they came knocking on the door. When she opened it, that's when they was like, hands up. You could hear they did some voiceovers about like some of it was voiceovers, others of it was the actual police, because he was like, I didn't hear you're resisting, but I heard you need to calm down or something. But the voice, it was like a voiceover, and I know the police ain't doing voiceovers for growing up hip hop. So I do feel like production was trying to put 20 on 10, but the situation was still a hostile situation. Like I said, I'm still happy that she's still here, because we know it could go different. But that's it, y'all. I do want to mention that I found it to be very messy that Eric was asking all them types of questions when Egypt and Sam and Boogie in the studio asking about like if they got an invite to TT's wedding, knowing good and well them people don't fool with each other like that. He be messy sometimes. But yeah, y'all, that's it. That's all. Remember to be bravely authentic, and drop down in the comments below and let me know your thoughts. And I'm out. Deuces.